FX, javelin one type, javelin another type, knockout make ones, knockout make twos, some Nielsen's, 43 grain, 36 twos, 38s, different type of Nielsen, more knockouts, got some Zans, different javelin, got some Griffins, 72 grain, 76 grain, different Griffins, 44 grains, 38.5s, not 39s, and yeah, the list just goes on and on. I just got a ton of it. I think you guys get the point. Slugs. Wow, the slug market. You know, you get asked quite a few questions having a YouTube channel on like what's the best guns, what's the best slugs, and you know, whether I should even get into slugs. You get that question. And for a lot of new guys, there's no way I would suggest that you buy slugs and get into that realm because it gets really expensive very fast. You see all the slugs I have here. This is just, I think, for like 25 cals and that. It gets really pricey and it's not mature enough right now. And so there's kind of three main actors I want to explain to you on why there's this kind of plausible deniability. And I don't want to say people aren't taking ownership of it, but in some ways they aren't. And so it usually starts with this. You know, someone calls an airgun seller, they're the first actor, and they're like, hey, I want to buy this rifle, and what shoots well with it? What slugs shoot well with it? And they're kind of like, well, I don't know. And I mean, they all answer this way. It doesn't matter who you kind of question, what, you know, Airgun Depot or whatever, big places. It's kind of all this little sheepish answer of them not really knowing, and they don't really have time to test all the slugs. So it gets kind of weird. And I think my initial impression years ago is I was kind of a little upset. I'm like, how can you sell an air gun and not know what shoots out of it? And I kind of hang up after talking to the air gun sellers and kind of like, damn, that seems kind of messed up. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's the second actor, the person who built the air rifle. Like, what are they using? What they use to test the rifle? Obviously, they just didn't build it and not send ammo through it to see what it tests like. Why aren't they telling the airgun sellers what works out of it? And so that's the thing. It becomes very weird. No one wants to kind of commit. They're like, you could use this or that. And I'm going to make a side story on the pellets. Running pellets is much more mature. But so you got the two actors, the guys who sell the air rifle, the guys who build it, and then you have the third actor, which is the ammo builder. And this is the thing where talking with some of these guys and some of the people, like, hey, what does this run well in? And again, they're like, well, and you kind of get this sheepish answer. It's like they almost built the bullet or the slug, but they didn't test it in something. Like they put it on a machine or a CAD machine, and like theoretically it should work well, but you know, there's not that committed type thing. Like this is, you know, your FX, impact, standard, blah, blah, blah. Now it's gotten a little better with some of the hybrids. Those kind of work pretty good in a lot of them, but not 100%. Not like pellets, the consistency. But it becomes this thing, you know, the ammo builders, you'd almost call them and say, hey, I see you have this ammo. And they're like, well, what are you trying to run in it? I'm like, no, I'll run any gun. I'll literally buy any rifle that runs that round because the ballistic coefficient is so great, and you had to have tested it in something. And then you get kind of crickets. You get this quiet, like, well, I don't know. And it's kind of like the way of the feeling, like, hey, just buy a box of ammo for 35 bucks and see if it runs in your gun. And then after you get 10 or 15 different kinds, like Zan's 36 grain, Zan 40s, you got JSBs and JSB2 knockouts, and you have 15 to 20 different types of slugs. And you could run this in your gun sometimes, and it might not perform that well. Like literally, I've had a recent gun that was $2,000 that everything I ran through, it was kind of junk. It's not right. That's customer unfriendly overall. And it's the industry as a whole, they're putting out this stuff. Now, let me flip the script on you and talk about the pellet industry, like the air guns. And so 10, 15 years ago, I looked on the internet, like what is the most accurate air rifle? I just wanted the most accurate air rifle, and it came up like field target rifles. Field target rifles, they're ergonomically great trigger, they're just accurate. 177, only 12 foot-pounds, but they do magical things to it. And so I bid off. I'm like, wow, okay. Did a bunch of research. I came up to a conclusion at FTP 900, and it is really accurate. And so after looking at it, great reviews, people love it. Then I started looking for rounds, like what pellets will run well with it. And I thought I was going to have a half dozen pellets. And I talked to like a world champion. I wrote him an email. He's got like championships and all. He's like won a ton of tournaments. Like, man, what are you running these guns? Like, I thought it was going to be complicated. And he's like, dude, two pellets, JSB 10.2s, JSB 8.4s, maybe some different on the sizing. You're done. And I'm like, no, it's not that simple. Come on. And he's like, no. And he goes, yeah. And he's like, here, go look at the world champion, field target world champion, and look at the rounds. So they classify it. They have a history of what pellet wins. And it was like 10.2, 8.4, 8.4, 10.2. It was right down the list. I was like, man, this guy wasn't kidding around. Okay, get my rifle in. I only ordered 2 types of pellets, the 8.4, 10.2s, get it on the round. The most accurate 177 I've ever shot up to that date. Lights out accurate. Right back to the guy, thanks for giving me that information. It is accurate. He goes, it will get better. He goes, when you put the first 1,000 to 2,000 rounds in, it's just kind of seasoning it. It will get even more accurate. And I was amazed. Super accurate, super easy, super mature. All the kinks have been worked out. So that's why I can't necessarily recommend that you jump into slugs. If you're going to do that as a new guy, or even as a guy that's kind of been around. It's kind of one of those do as I say, not as I do. This is an airgun channel. I make a lot of mistakes. I do a lot of stupid stuff with my money. But for you guys, I think if you want that, 0 to 75, even 100-yard accuracy, and there's not a whole lot of wind, just push slugs. You can get away with some JSBs, 25.4s for the 25 cals. You know it, just easy research. More than likely, your air rifle will shoot those lights out. Slugs are a whole different ball game and a whole lot more expensive, like way more expensive. So that's kind of things this week, guys. Comments, questions below. Hit that subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you next week.